everyone, welcome to the Community Classroom. This is Dr. Tracey McCarthy, psychologist, attorney, and educator. As we are preparing to wrap up the community service project of the Community Classroom component, we're going to address a few pertinent issues in some of the video content. And so what we're going to address very briefly in this particular segment is the Logan Act. So we're going to look at this piece of legislation that deals with American citizens and their relationships with foreign governments. We're also going to quickly address the issue of people giving and receiving what is identified as legal advice, and that's in quotation marks, on the internet. We're also going to quickly address the issue of fake radicalism and this dynamic of what are known as trap channels on the internet. This particular discussion is geared towards individuals who are considered young adults and teenagers. Those who are over the age of 25 perhaps already know better. So for you young folks out there, this is a cautionary video related to your relationship with channels that engage in what's known as fake outrage, fake radicalism, and fake leadership. Not all channels on the internet or all websites on the internet are in your best interest. And so one of the things you want to be mindful of are channels, particularly on YouTube, where there is this element of individuals who are exhibiting fake outrage. They're outraged about everything. It's usually about some highly volatile political issue. And then there is this advancing of fake radicalism and internet radicalism, and then fake leadership. So you have individuals who are taking on these fake internet leadership roles when they actually have no potent leadership capacity or role in the real community. And a good model to think about when thinking about this dynamic is Pinky and the Brain. So if you are experiencing some channels or influencers on social media that take on this sort of, they're going to take over the world dynamic and they want you to go along for the ride, be mindful of the fact that these are probably not legitimate channels. They are not exhibiting legitimate leadership, and the entire dynamic is probably just fabricated for views, for money, donations, things like that. And so just be mindful of that. And so you need to be cautious of that when you're on the internet, and you also need to be cautious of that in real life. If you are a young person in high school, middle school, college, or you've just graduated college, you've started a new job, getting started with your life, the last thing that you need is someone to derail you on your path. And there are many people in life, and particularly on social media at this time, that may serve as a derailment. And so one of the things that you need to be on the lookout for are things and dynamics that are not going to be in your best interest. And so one of those things that has come up is related to the Logan Act. So if you haven't had a chance to read the Mueller report, if you seek to do that, or read that case that's related to the Mueller report, you might want to at least look at the video that was completed related to the Mueller report and that case so that you can get an idea of some of the dynamics that are going on in relation to foreign governments and American citizens. And so you want to make sure that you aren't doing anything that makes you run afoul of this particular piece of legislation. And so again, there are individuals on the internet that are encouraging individuals to think in that way, and you just need to be cautious about that dynamic. And so you need to read the law for yourself. It's not enough for you to listen to quote unquote legal advice from individuals who are on the internet. You need to know the law for yourself. This is a very small piece of legislation. We're going to quickly go over it. Again, this isn't legal advice, but you need to understand this for yourself and you need to read it for yourself. And so what it basically says is that any citizen of the United States, wherever he or she may be, who without authority of the United States directly or indirectly commences or carries on any correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof, with the intent to influence the measures or conduct of any foreign government or of any officer or agent thereof in relation to any dispute or controversies with the United States, or to defeat the measures of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned. And in some instances, it may be both. And so, in other words, individuals need to be very cautious about any rhetoric related to engaging foreign governments as a citizen, as an individual citizen, because you really don't know the relationship between the United States government and foreign governments. And so you don't know at any point in time whether or not there is a specific dispute or controversy that's not in the public arena. And this dynamic usually comes up related to armchair revolutionaries, and now we have internet revolutionaries. And so again, as you are starting out on the path of your young life, you do not need to be derailed by anyone who is trying to take you off of that course. There is a little caveat here. So the communications don't apply to all communications. So if an individual has been harmed by a foreign government, for instance, they do still have the right to seek redress from that foreign government. As a young person, you also want to be cautious of this dynamic of receiving legal advice, quote unquote legal advice, on the internet. Legal advice that comes from family members, friends, and social media influencers, this does not constitute actual legal advice. Legal advice comes from an actual licensed attorney to an actual legal client that's related to a specific legal matter that that particular client is experiencing. And so when you're talking about real legal advice is going to take into consideration the various areas of law when advising someone on a particular matter. So for instance, if someone has a legal issue related to family law, an actual attorney is going to take into consideration federal law, state law, family law, criminal law, probate law, tort law, and contract law when advising on issues that may on the surface appear to be only related to one branch of law to a layperson. And so usually when individuals are attempting to give legal advice on the internet, they are not taking into consideration all of these dynamics related to all of these branches of law that generally need to be considered when you're dealing with one area of law. And so one of the things you want to be on the lookout for are legal disclaimers. You'll note that in the section on the videos for this channel, there is a legal disclaimer on there. And so a number of individuals are not actually giving legal disclaimers because they don't even know they are supposed to give these legal disclaimers. And legal disclaimers are there so that there is not an inadvertent or unintended creation of an attorney-client relationship and the responsibility that comes with that. So you'll have individuals who are on the internet giving quote unquote legal advice. It's not real, legitimate legal advice, and they are not going to take responsibility for the outgrowth of any wrong advice that you are given or that you act upon. So again, you need to be very cautious about these dynamics. Another thing you want to be cautious about is this dynamic of fake titles and screen names on the internet. So you'll have a number of individuals who will call themselves things like doctor or lawyer or esquire or Indian chief, or give themselves royal titles like king and queen and emperor and empress and prince and princess. Those are generally fake screen names. Very rarely do you see actual individuals who are doctors or lawyers or Indian chiefs actually on the internet providing content. It does does happen. However, it's not typical. And so there are some individuals who actually are doctors. They have doctorates, and those individuals include people like Dr. Boyce Watkins and Dr. Claude Anderson and Dr. Clyde Winters. Now, of course, it's not just limited to those individuals. You also have Attorney Shabazz. And so there are a number of attorneys and doctors and some Indian chiefs, like you have Chief Warhorse that comes on. You have Two Hawks that comes on and provides content. But you also have individuals who are styling themselves as kings and queens and prince and princess. And quite frankly, you already know that individuals who actually have those titles, they would not be providing, generally speaking, providing content on the internet. So you need to be careful about these fake screen names and these fake titles that people are giving themselves, because oftentimes they are doing this. Sometimes they're doing it just for fun. However, often it's tied to the giving, again, of advice. And so young people are often misled because they actually believe that the person who is presenting with this title actually has the credentials to back that up, that they actually have the information, the knowledge that they are supposed to have that goes with that title. And so sometimes people will be misled. And so one way that you know if it is an actual attorney, for instance, there's usually going to be a disclaimer on that channel. If it's an actual doctor, meaning like a counselor or a medical doctor, or even a social worker, a psychologist, there's usually going to be a disclaimer on that channel. Another thing that's going on is individuals are giving themselves these titles so that individuals will be misled into believing that these individuals are the authorities on a particular topic. And so you'll also generally see, when you see this dynamic, they will also engage in sort of bashing of academia, or bashing of doctors, or bashing of lawyers, or bashing of actual Indian chiefs or actual people with royal titles. And so you need to be mindful of that. Some of this is just people sort of play acting, but that play acting may lead you down a road that's not going to be helpful for you. Another indicator that you may be going down a wrong road as a young person is engaging with channels on the internet that engage in inordinate live streaming. And so you will see this, these are like trap channels, you will see this where individuals or groups of individuals are engaging in live streaming for like 4 to 8 hours a day. It's on a daily basis. They might be doing it day and night. There may be several live streams where they're doing it for, you know, the majority of the day. And you already know, common sense tells you that no one who's actually living a regular life, those individuals do not have time to actually create live streams for 8-hour segments every day, all day long. You'll also notice that there might be redundant content with minor alterations. And so this is not really content that's serving to actually edify. It's just sort of, again, sort of a trap dynamic. And so if you are a young person and you're trying to live a fruitful and productive life, you don't want to get caught up in these trap dynamics, whether you're talking about online, on the internet, or in real life, whether you're in high school, you're in college, or you are starting off in your life, your young life, in the workplace, or in a relationship. And so as you are seeking to edify yourself and learn about life, you need to also make sure that you are double checking whatever answers you are receiving when you have questions, particularly on the internet, in life in general. You need to seek out answers for yourself, and often you need to see the material firsthand. So if someone's referencing something, you need to see it for yourself. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care and see you soon.